Okay, so when we look at water on land, so this is surface water, and it's in a place like a desert, and we need to get water from one place to another place, a very simple system called an aqueduct is built. So this right here is a picture of what we call an aqueduct. Okay, so you can see it's basically a man-made river. So it's a pathway that carries water from one location to another. And these have been around for a very long time. Water from one location to another. They've been around for a very long time. The Romans were the ones who used these a lot throughout their very expansive empire, because they had to get water to their armies in place to place. So they have very extensive aqueduct systems that were built, and a lot of them are still standing there today. All right, so this right here is the Aral Sea. This is one of the most well-known examples of human interference on water. Okay, so the Aral Sea is an inland ocean. Okay, so this is salt water. All right, inland ocean meaning it's completely surrounded by land. It's not a lake because it's too big to be a lake, so we call it the Aral Sea. So this was the Aral Sea is fed by two different rivers. So you have two rivers that dump fresh water into the Aral Sea. Okay. Now, this was part of the former Soviet Union. Okay. Okay, sorry guys, I got a phone call, so I don't remember what I was saying before. I had to push pause. So, this is back, it started in 1977, so this is when, this was the former Soviet Union, okay? So this is 1977, and this is, the last picture that was taken was, June of 2013. So, essentially what happened was, Russia decided to divert, the rivers that fed into the Aral Sea. So they basically cut off the water source of the Aral Sea itself. They used those rivers for irrigation, for agriculture. And because they cut those rivers off, you can see that the lake pretty quickly, or the ocean, the sea, sorry, I can't use my word right. The Aral Sea pretty quickly started shrinking. Okay? So it kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then here we have pretty much present day right here. And this is all because humans interfered in a viable water source. Okay? So let's make some notes right here. So Russia diverted two rivers from the Aral Sea. Okay. So what happened was it caused a reduction in 85% of the wetlands surrounding the Aral Sea. So 85% of the wetlands are gone. And that includes the animals with it. So this was also a mass extinction event. 50% of the local bird and mammals are gone. Okay. One other thing, why would we have no plant life growing around this? Okay, think about it. If you were taking away a freshwater source and you're just left with this inland saltwater sea, what is happening to the salt concentration? The salt concentration has increased. So the salt levels themselves have tripled. So anything that was alive in the water that's left cannot survive anymore because the salt concentration is just way too high. Now, these are pictures from the Aral Sea. And this blows my mind because this is, I mean, it's grass. It's a grassland. And it looks like, how could there ever have been a massive body of water here? But you've got boats in the middle of nowhere. Boats in the middle of nowhere. How did they get there? Because this was once part of the Aral Sea. That is all gone. So this is a remnant of a sunken boat at some point that was in the Aral Sea. But it's gone. Okay. All right. So let's look at the usage for agriculture. So typically we're going to be using it for irrigation. So we have 4 types of irrigation. Okay. So we have furrow irrigation. So here we have water that's basically just squirt down the rows between the crops. Okay. We have flood irrigation, which to me, guys, this is incredibly wasteful. So basically they are flooding the land itself with too much water and basically just letting it sink in. Now, problems you have with this, if you have too much water, it can cause plant death. And you also have that soil salinization that can happen because of evaporation of water. Okay, so this is going to use too much water. We have spray irrigation. Now, this is what we typically see in Texas. So if you've ever been on a road trip and you see, you know, these contraptions, you know, that look like this, and they spray water out of it, that's called spray irrigation. Okay, and then drip irrigation, we have hoses with holes that constantly drip water. Okay, so those are the 4 types of irrigation. Now, remember that agriculture, let me go back up here. Agriculture is 70% of the usage of fresh water. Industry is going to be 20%. So it's the second largest user. And then we have household, which is the third or the lowest. Okay, so then basically, if you look at this chart, this breaks down how we use it in the household. And the majority of it goes to toilet flushing. And so there's a saying that that conservationists have come up with to help conserve toilet flushing in people's houses. And so the saying is, if it's yellow, let it mellow, and if it's brown, flush it down. So basically, they advocate that if you pee, then just, you know, don't flush it. And then everyone else can just pee, and it just sits there. And when it gets to be, I guess, too much, you flush it down. But, you know, if it's poop, then go ahead and flush it down the first time. So, I don't do that in my house, and I don't know anyone that does. But that is a way that you can save water in your house. Also, when you're brushing your teeth, turn the water off. Okay, that's a good way to help conserve water usage. And if you're doing laundry, don't just throw one thing. Wash multiple things with it. Okay. All right. So this is water as a resource. We will be moving on to water pollution in the second half of the unit.